Welcome to Health, Fitness and Success, your podcast and guide to winning at everything in life, particularly fitness. So,
and
my name's Ben Tormey. Oh, fuck.
My name's Marquis.
Fuck.
No.
Fuck, no.
No.
Well, I'm going to get it right.
No, well, you didn't fuck up. You didn't fuck up. I just went over the top of it.
Ah, right, okay, fuck. Never mind.
Yeah, we'll just roll again.
Yeah. Shit. I thought I'd fucked up because of last time.
No, you didn't fuck up. That was cool. You didn't fuck up.
Right, okay.
But
welcome to...
Well, you did fuck up, though.
Welcome to Health, Fitness and Success, Episode 5. Only God can judge my squats.
Welcome to Health, Fitness and Success, your podcast and guide to winning everything, especially fitness and health. My name's Ben Tormey.
My name's Marquis.
And first up, we're going to be talking about the Crossfit Law Suit, which a lot of you will have probably seen in the context of articles saying that CrossFit was suing science or something to that effect. And the NSCA, you might be aware, have a journal, which is the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research. And in that journal, they published a study, and it was the Devon study. And CrossFit, the Devil study, and CrossFit as a whole, as an organisation, have made, they filed a lawsuit. Okay, and it seems to be the main issue they had was that this study was essentially pointing to a higher injury rate in CrossFit than you'd expect with maybe other training programs, and they were arguing that the data was kind of questionable, and that they had an issue, of course, because CrossFit is a huge brand now. It's a huge money-making business, and anything which puts them in a bad light is obviously going to hurt that. So they had an issue with that, but more fundamentally, they had an issue with the way the editor-in-chief of the NSCA seemed to have, allegedly behaved in phone calls and correspondence. So, Mark, did you have a chance to have a quick read through the article here?
Yeah, I had a little bruise through earlier in the week when you sent it to me. I don't really know what the fuck's going on, if I'm being honest. All I see is a bunch of quotes and shit. I kind of dig out from the article that basically, based off the NSCA's position statements, that they're not willing to comment on the veracity of anything published in their journal.
Yeah,
is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. It's basically it's kind of a ridiculous situation, because you've got CrossFit suing people for publishing, journal articles, studies, peer-reviewed science, but then you've got the NSCA publishing stuff which they don't seem to have enough information to really have an opinion on. So it's kind of, you can't really side with either of them, really. They both seem to be somewhat in the wrong in this case. But then again, it is, it's trendy to laugh at CrossFit. So
yeah, well, there's a good reason for that. I just one thing about the Journal of Strength and Conditioning, and it's wonderful. So you'll be aware of what an impact factor is. For anyone, listeners who maybe don't have a sports background who don't have a science background, impact factor is basically how you rate the quality of a journal. It's basically based off the amount of times that articles published in that journal are cited by other papers. So just like if we look at Nature, which is one of the biggest journals, or certainly one of the most respected journals in the scientific community, has an impact factor of 35.59. In 2011, the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, which is the NSCA's journal, let's make sure I got the right one here. it had an impact factor of 1.8. So if you compare like one of the major journals to that, I mean, we're talking orders of magnitude of about like 18 times more citations. If you look at something like the American Journal of Sports Medicine, another sports science journal, it's got 3.8 impact factor. American Journal of Physiology is 4.7. So even within the sports science community, which isn't one of the largest scientific communities, it's not one of the better journals. It's kind of like a moderate quality. So you can take from that what you will, but I wouldn't take anything that the JSCR publishes to heart.
Yeah, it's funny because the impact factor now is such a huge thing in academia, because your academic career lives or dies on the impacts of your publications, and that often means positions in universities, especially in the UK now, where you don't have tenure, where you don't have the same sort of tenure situation that people have in the States. You kind of have to seek out the really prestigious journals, whether or not they're high quality. It doesn't matter so much. But the ones which have that impact factor you discussed there, it applies to, it's every academic subject really, isn't it? It's not just sports science.
It's pretty much every scientific or otherwise pseudoscientific academia, like social sciences, biological sciences, physical sciences. Impact factor is just like it's just a measure of how influential the journal is. It's not necessarily how good the journal is per se, but you can pretty much infer from the impact factor like it's the sort of quality of science that gets published in it. That's not to say that just because it's published in that journal means it's a good study, but it certainly increases the likelihood of it being a good study. Yeah,
and certainly in mathematics, I've seen situations where, without naming any names or going into any detail about it, there's been research published in a major journal with a high impact factor, which is essentially duplicating work which was already done in a less well-known journal. So, the result was already proven in a paper that someone else published. But of course, the high impact journal is the publication. That's the publication which is the one that everyone reads, and so often the work is attributed to someone it shouldn't be, and but that's the way it is, unfortunately.
Someone in science taking credit for someone else's work.
Yeah, I know, it's never happened before.
I can't believe that's ever happened.
No. Well, actually, on that point, right, completely unrelated to what we were going to talk about, but there was an article about the woman who invented Kevlar. The very first comment I saw was basically saying it's a sad loss for science that he has died. So that tells you everything you need to know about the role of women in science, especially discovery of DNA, numerous other
radioactivity.
Yeah, radioactivity.
That had absolutely no impact on the century whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on, we've got another BMI story here, which is it's always good because we don't like talking about BMI, do we? So
well, I mean, it's such a terrible measure. I don't even know why we insist on talking about it so much. What we've got here is like another victim of the NHS and government's hatred campaign against the fitness community. So basically, what we got here is a kid who had a BMI of 41.8, 11-year-old kid with a BMI of 41.8, obviously through working out, whose parents got arrested from the Sussex the Norfolk County Council police. Arrested them for like child neglect and cruelty for making this kid work out and getting swole. The kid was 5 foot 1 inches and 15 stone.
So basically, Mr. Olympia, right there.
Yeah, pretty much. Of 100% natural gains. So yeah, well, I think that's enough sarcasm. So basically, these parents got arrested because teachers and doctors of this kid kind of raised the point with the police that they were worried about the kid's welfare. So obviously the rational thing to do is arrest them. um, for child cruelty and neglect. My own take on this is fucking ridiculous. There's no real, like, what's to say this kid doesn't have a dyslipidemia or some other factor that is making him prone to being fast fuck.
Yeah. It's and in the context of child abuse investigations across the country, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's more deserving cases out there where, you know, the police could be involved in. I remember there was some outrage a little while ago. There was a case on the radio I heard where there's a child that was literally eating out of bins, and the
Damn, that's dedicated.
He's going after those gains. But, no, the teachers at the school
just hanging around Dorian Yates bins, trying to get some used needles and jump on them.
Yeah, the teachers at the school didn't do anything. I mean, they knew that this kid was obviously coming into school in a pretty awful state. Looked as though they hadn't, you know, got much personal hygiene. Looked, you know, like wasn't eating very well, and yeah, they didn't do anything. And here we've got something at the other extreme, which is a kid. Yeah, he's obviously quite obese, this child, but you know, to infer child abuse from that is quite a step. Like you were saying, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, a little bit of a hop, skip and jump that.
Yeah, I mean, you would have thought the first step would be to have involved their GP or, you know, some sort of healthcare professional.
To be fair, I think the GP was involved in getting the police involved, so.
Oh, I see, right, got you.
There must have been something going on. But what really annoys me about this article is the fact that they use 15 stone as a marker of weight. What the fuck is 15 stone? It actually pisses me off. So I've got to do a calculation to work that out, what that is in real weight. It's 95 kg, this kid. So that's pretty fucking heavy. Yeah, the kid's obviously massively obese. But how many other children in the UK are massively obese? And how many of those children's parents are in jail? And is that really the answer?
Well, yeah, the solution is put the child in care where he's obviously going to grow up to be a balanced adult, you know, no sort of psychological issues as a result of all this.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, how much intervention is too much intervention? I would venture this is probably too much intervention. You can't arrest every parent of fat kids. It's just, I don't see where you go with this. Like, do you prosecute them, put them both in jail, and then, as you say, put the kid in a foster home, or put it in care? Well, yeah. I'm sure that probably will work out well.
I mean, surely some education, you know, maybe psychologists to work with the family, nutritionists, I don't know. And there must have been something that could have happened before this intervention.
Nutritionists could probably take gluten out of his diet.
Yeah.
Cure him of autism and obesity.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah, so I don't really a huge amount to discuss here. I just thought it was fucking ridiculous, and we'll chat about it.
Yeah, but there you go. But this shows, you know, BMI is useless, of course.
Of course. I mean, I'm sure this kid would have a completely normal lifespan. It wouldn't die prematurely.
Yeah. I mean, when I see that a child of 5 foot 1 inches, you know, 11 years old, has got a BMI of 41.8, that doesn't mean anything to me, because I just don't understand how BMI is a useful metric. It's
crazy.
I mean, it doesn't take into account muscle mass for starters.
So exactly. I mean,
so how do I know that 11-year-old isn't a huge bodybuilder?
I mean, clearly this kid works out. I mean, no with that high a BMI doesn't work out, right?
I mean, I thought it was the Swole police that actually arrested the the parents.
This is hating, man. Fucking pencil necks. Can't let this kid enjoy his gains. Yeah. So BMI again, fucking up people's lives. Right.
That's quite a good segue, because the next one's about the sugar tax.
Yeah. Again, following a very similar theme. Again, from the BBC News website. You're trying to open it here. For some reason, Google Drive doesn't want to open it. Just copy and paste it. Yeah, so, for fuck's sake, 404. Why you do
I've
this?
got it here. It's fine. It's the title of this article is.
I've got it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've got it. I'll chime in. Title of the group, oh my god. Title of the article is, Health Group Calls for Sugar Tax to Cut Child Obesity. Again with the child obesity. There's a pretty good, there's bullet points down the bottom here. So the 7 proposed measures are: reduce added sugar in food by 40% by 2020, ban all forms of targeted marketing of ultra-processed unhealthy foods and drinks in children, food's final form, disassociate physical activity with obesity by banning junk food sports sponsorship, because reducing the sponsorship of sports is a good thing, reduce fat by 15% in ultra-processed foods by 2020, limit the availability of ultra-processed foods and sweetened soft drinks, as well as reduced portion sizes, introduce a sugar tax to incentivize healthier foods. And then there's some spiel. Dr. Seam says, the UK requires the implementation of its current strategy, starting by setting incremental sugar reduction targets for soft drinks this summer. No delays, no excuses. It is really shameful that the food industry continues to spend billions in junk food advertising targeting children. How dare a company try to make money? It's time to bust the myth of physical activity and obesity and disassociate junk food and sport. We know some people eat too many calories, including sugar. Childhood obesity is at its lowest since 1998, but more should be done. That makes no sense. Next week we will get expert scientific advice on sugar, which will help shape future thinking. We will consider these recommendations as parts of this. Gary Tabules will be their expert advisor, telling them that all carbs are bad. I made that last bit up. Yeah, so what do you think of this?
Well, it's a shame this is all coming too late to save the kid with the BMI of 40 plus. But yeah, the actual idea of a sugar tax is just is ridiculous for a number of different reasons. But you picked up on an interesting point there, which is the idea of sponsorship and having sport and junk food associated. I mean, for me, that's probably the biggest thing, because if you actually look at the policies that a number of these big companies have, they do have community-based projects. Like Coca-Cola, for instance, do a huge amount of investment in community projects. They do have an ongoing commitment to health issues. And I know that it's not really, you can't defend manufacturers which make, what you call junk food for producing that and marketing it to kids, right? You can't defend that behavior. However, I don't think, like you were saying, that removing that link between sport and food companies is going to help anyone, because who's going to pay to actually, get these projects which get kids into sport running, and who's going to actually promote them? So it's not going to be the government, because they were the ones that in the UK presided over all of the sports fields and facilities being sold off. So, I mean, that was years ago, of course, not in modern times, but yeah. But yeah, the government aren't going to be the ones to put all that money into it. So I just don't see how this is like I don't see this being a realistic idea, even if it was the solution to obesity.
I would venture not either. I mean, as someone who works in professional sport, I have somewhat of a vested interest in that. But yeah, I think it's fucking ridiculous. Taking out, betting sponsorship from sports, I don't really agree with that. Taking out tobacco sponsorship from sports, I don't agree with that. Taking out, drink sponsorship from sports, I don't agree with that. Yes, these things have negative impacts on society, but one of the few things that have a pretty much universally positive impact on society is like sport and exercise, like local rugby clubs, local football clubs, whatever the case is. like this puts a lot of money into those kind of, like you're saying, like Coca-Cola, Lucozade. There's loads of like sweet manufacturers that have like activity for school things where kids bring in wrappers or whatever it is, and they give out X amount of money for like sports equipment for schools. And they do like they probably do more good for physical activity for the UK than the government do. Like,
Yeah.
Substantially more. The only reason we can have professional teams in the UK is because of these kinds of sponsorships. Like professional football, professional rugby, professional cricket, professional whatever it is, all it does is raise a profile of sports and exercise in the UK. Now you look at when England won the World Cup in 2003 for rugby. Like I'm sure if you were to look at the trends of participation in that sport in the country, I'm sure you'd see a huge upward swing. And the only reason that the England rugby team could do that was due to sponsorships and the money that they could invest and to have the quality of a team to win the World Cup. And that had a massive positive impact on the sport in England and the UK as a whole. And also, if only there was some kind of trend where the government taxed something like maybe alcohol increasingly more, and we could look at what happened that trend. So like pretty much every budget since I can remember, the duty on alcohol goes up. I'm looking at a graph here that tracks the litres per head of alcohol consumed in the UK from 1947 to 2009, and it's pretty much just an upward trend. It kind of peaks in the mid-2000s and falls a little bit.
Well, I think prohibition for sugar, basically, is going to be the answer. Get rid of it completely. Make it illegal to have sugar.
That's probably a good idea. Yeah. And then we can ban fat. Then we can ban protein.
Well, because as we know, protein is going to kill you. So
obviously.
We'll just subsist on a diet of leafy greens.
I really wish I'd done a correlation with the tax rate and the alcohol consumption in the UK. I think that'd be really interesting to look at. Because I'm looking at the two graphs right now. Pretty sure you get a strong correlation between the two.
Yeah, well, the thing is as well, the sugar tax, call me self-centered here, but I don't like the idea that I have to pay more for unhealthy food if I live a lifestyle which can allow me to indulge in it without any negative side effects. So it's the same thing with alcohol, just because some people do stupid things under the influence of alcohol and, abuse their bodies with it doesn't mean everyone should.
Like that argument, that the cost burden on the NHS is ridiculous because the amount of tax that tobacco consumers take and drink, how much tax they pay into through VAT more than covers the cost that they have on the NHS.
Well,
in fact,
this
the NHS
is the thing.
makes a profit, or the government makes a profit even taking that into account. So
this is the thing, though. If you want to, and just being serious from them, not even making any jokes at this stage.
No troll.
No troll. This is
serious side of serious.
I've got the serious tags here. The real problem for the NHS in the future will actually be the elderly, because we're all living longer. We'll have all of the diseases and health problems associated with age. That problem isn't going to go away anytime soon. So what we're going to do, we're going to punish people, tax people who live a healthy lifestyle because they're a burden on the NHS. Where do you draw the line? It's crazy.
That's the definition of being a victim of your own success.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm really not a fan of putting tax burdens on things. I'm a big believer in free choice.
Yeah.
I believe if people want to drink to destruction, let them. That's my view on it. If you're stupid enough to do that, then fair play, on you go.
It's difficult because I think you're bringing up a more kind of involved economic point, which is that if you have any sort of belief in free market economics, and obviously that's down to the government and their policies and all of that, then you can't just implement taxes like this independently of your overall economic policy. It's not going to work. You can't just start bringing in taxes on sugar and talking about junk food and stuff like that, because we're trying to manipulate markets which are, these are huge multinational corporations making billions of dollars, and it's not a simple thing just to introduce some punitive measures that will, to tackle a problem which isn't really directly linked to any of these foods. It's the overall context of our diets, that's the problem, not individual foods. But anyway.
Yeah, you can die just as fat overeating fat as you can overeating sugar. I guess just as fat, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so we need to tax fat, obviously.
Obviously. I'm pretty sure someone's tried to do that, if not already done that some stage. Anyway, so that covers that one. Next one we're going to look at is a study that was done on dietary consumption of protein. And they basically found that a higher protein diet increased your likelihood of, or decreased your likelihood of having a stroke. To quote from the article, each increase of 20 grams per day in protein, about the amount in a 3-ounce serving of chicken, fish, or a cup of beans. Again, a cup or 3 ounces, fucking shit pisses me off, man. What's it in grams? Only the USA uses that. You're not the world. Anyway, was associated with a 26% decrease in risk, a dose-response relationship that further strengthens the association. Yeah, so I wonder how linear that is. For every 20 grams, you had a 26% decrease in risk. That's
I mean that the dose-response curve can't possibly be linear.
Awesome.
Yes.
Basically, eat steak and be immune from stroke.
Yeah.
I like that. So I could eat steak, drink red wine, and live forever.
Yeah, don't forget that resveratrol. Yes. This is an interesting one, because what he says at the bottom there was, increasing intake of fish or vegetables is recommended. So I wonder how much of this, because just to pick out a paragraph here, it said that there's some evidence to suggest that animal protein is slightly more effective than vegetable protein, but there wasn't. Yeah, but there wasn't enough data on vegetable consumption to reach a definitive conclusion. So I wonder to what extent you need to do a more detailed analysis to pick out how vegetable consumption had an impact on the stroke risk.
I always wonder how much comments like that are a hedge as well.
Yeah.
Because at the top, getting more protein in your diet through not red meat may reduce your risk for stroke, a review studies found. Did they pick that out from the data, or are they just saying that?
Yeah, it's slightly fishy, isn't it?
Because there's so much noise about how bad red meat is, how good vegetables are for you, how good fish is for you, versus I always wonder because it's quite a common thing not to be seen to be too kind of pro anti-establishment, not to be too pro meat as a healthy thing, or with alcohol. You wonder how much these comments are just moderated by the author's want not to be seen as some kind of radical or something. Nice to see a positive link between protein and health for once.
Yeah, I'm glad we're not all going to die for enjoying a steak.
God damn. If there's any truth to meat being bad for your heart, I am fucked.
Yeah, me too. Well, I don't even want to live if that's the case.
I'm gonna die at the age of 31. I eat a lot of meat.
Oh God. I'll be, good night, sweet prince.
Oh well. At least I'll die knowing the taste of a rare steak.
Right, so moving on to, one of my favourite blogs out there. This is Depth Privilege, which is about squat depth. It's basically, if you've ever been, shamed by someone at the gym saying that your squat wasn't deep enough, this is about recognizing that every squat is beautiful, no matter how deep it may be. It doesn't matter if it's ass to grass or hardly breaking your knees. That is a beautiful thing because you are squatting. So don't forget that.
It's a beautiful thing. As we all know, the third law of squatting: no one can judge the depth from the front, back, side, or any angle for that matter. It's impossible.
Yeah. I mean, I see a lot of posts, on Facebook talking about, deep squatting and stuff, and I just think, well, we've been brainwashed by the media to believe that that's beautiful.
Indeed.
And that's the right range of motion. But I think, what if I don't want to squat deep,
What if I want to put on triple ply suits, 500 meter knee wraps, and quarter squat 500 kilos, and call it a good squat? I mean, who are you to judge me?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to take part in a no-name federation with 3 people in it and call myself the world record holder. You're just hating.
Yeah, it's the worst kind of hating, though, isn't it? It's and I just think, every squat deserves a white light in a meet. Because they turned up, they did their best, and it was a squat. So
they showed up. I mean, taking part's half the battle, surely.
Exactly.
They always say it's taking part that counts.
And that's the reason, kids. That's, I think, probably, maybe to generalize a bit, that's why we have this child obesity crisis, because kids are being taught to squat, with a depth that isn't, it's not attainable for the average person. They look at pictures of, celebrity squatting with full depth, and they just think, I could never squat like that, and so they give up. And that's
it. I mean, if you look at all those multiply feds, they're all the figure of fitness. All these guys. Every one of them, like Dave Tate, great shape. Jim Wendler, great shape. Louis Simmons, great neck for his age.
Yeah.
He just moves so freely.
He's got great mobility.
He's got great mobility. Doesn't waddle around like a fat fuck with snapped up shit. I mean, these guys never get injured, of course, as well.
No, exactly.
They're just completely injury free, and they don't really don't use any painkillers or anything of the notion, just so they can train through the 3 inches of beautiful range of motion that these guys move through. And it is a beauty to behold. The lesser seen quarter squat. So beautiful. But when it takes you like 30 minutes to get into your suit with 5 mates helping you in, so that then you can stand up, not even walk it out, not even quarter squat in some cases, just to stand up and just get them 3 beautiful whites. No questions, refs up cheering. Yeah, man. New all-time world record. Living the dream.
Yeah, it's what really all of us want.
It is
for our squats.
It is what the sport should be. 0 participation, 2,000 pounds worth of equipment. Your mates doing it in your mate's garage, getting them whites, them sweet whites. Yeah, buddy. We should leave.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, leave a link to the Tumblr blog. It is hilarious. Just remember, only God can judge my squats.
Okay, so that neatly brings us on to the main topic for the week, which is the report on how the US healthcare system compares internationally. USA. So let's have a look at this article here. It's called Mirror Mirror on the Wall 2014 update. This is
who's the deepest squatter of them all.
Yeah. And it's by the Commonwealth Fund, and this they've got a nice little table here, and we've got the USA basically the bottom in overall rankings.
Damn,
So, and we have the UK at number one, obviously. And I've just, stood up out of my seat there to look at my picture of the Queen.
God save the Queen.
Yeah. God bless her.
Just
and all
brings a
who
tear to
hail
my eye.
Yeah. And I thought of a joke for this.
God bless her and all who sail in her.
All who ail in her.
All who ail in her. Ah, nice.
See?
Nice.
It's a sort of little pun there.
I see what you did there.
Right, so that was awful, but yeah, moving on. This is quite a substantial, bit of research, and
smash this, eh?
Yeah, it's really detailed, and I've got to admit, I was actually surprised to see the NHS coming top, because I would have expected, I don't know, maybe Norway and Switzerland.
What, you mean the BMI Nazis?
Yeah, the BMI Nazis. Yeah. I would have expected Norway, Switzerland, Sweden to outrank us, but they were beaten back into, second, third and seventh place. And, having recently witnessed England underperforming in the World Cup, it was nice to know that the UK is still capable of, producing some international results.
My favourite one is efficiency is number one.
Yeah, yeah. Which, if you've ever experienced the NHS, is going to come as a shock to you.
It's quite scary. And we're the most efficient healthcare system in the world.
Yeah, and
it's free too.
And it's free. If
you don't have a job, fucking scrungers.
So yeah, if you live in a country where you don't have universal healthcare and you're paying for all of this, sorry for your loss, basically, because this proves that you do actually get an amazing standard of care, and.
My favorite point in this entire thing is that in the US, like, one of the biggest kind of arguments against having a nationalized healthcare service is the cost. You fucking what, mate?
Yeah.
Like, the UK cost per capita for the NHS is $3,405. In the USA, where you pay for your own healthcare insurance, the cost per capita is $8,508, nearly 3 times as much. USA. USA.
And yeah, it's interesting because they came dead last in a number of these. These rankings. So the overall ranking, dead last. Cost related, so the access they were in 9th, and the cost related problems category 11th. So yeah, not surprising when you see what the health expenditure per capita was, but yeah.
Efficiency 11, quality 11, healthy lives 11. Fuck. Healthy lives, though, to be fair, we're 10.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, but
we make some gains.
Yeah, we just did that. We just let everyone else have that one.
Take it, boys. So overall ranking 1, quality care 1, effective care 1. Safe care 1, coordinated care 1, patient-centered care 1, access 1, cost-related problems 1, efficiency 1, equality 2nd. That's a bronze medal in equality. Thanks for a silver. in the international healthcare Olympics, overall winners. Yeah,
and that'll be the only medal we can probably expect for a while. But yeah, it's nice to know we won something.
Yeah, I think for all the hate the NHS gets, this is just like a big fuck you. to everyone who's hating on it.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised that this wasn't. I've not really noticed this covered that much in the media, our press anyway. I would have thought this would have been a big deal to talk about, a result like this, which kind of puts the NHS in a better light than it's been cast in, in most of the recent media stories we've seen.
Yeah, it's nice to have a chirpy story, especially for the UK listeners. With the best healthcare system in the world.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it?
Definitely not me, for one.
It's good, man. But, David Cameron might have something to say about
that.
Yeah. Privatize it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that seems like the best way forward.
Yeah, because it's not working at the minute, is it?
It's broken. It's broken Britain.
It's completely broken Britain.
Yeah.
Oh, dearie me. Okay, sweet. I think we could delve further into how fucked up the USA healthcare system is.
We could, but we're busy guys. Don't have time to
unfuck that. I just find it hilarious. Like anyone who posts on bodybuilding.com or any kind of American forums, anytime this kind of thing gets raised, it's mental to see them defend it. Absolutely mental. Wherever, Breaking Bad's, I know it's drama, but that kind of just shows one of the biggest cultural successes of certainly the last 10 years from the USA. Basically, central antagonist to this guy becoming a drugs baron is the USA healthcare system. When a guy gets cancer and it would bankrupt them to get the treatment.
Yeah, and what I find funny is how a number of states now want to legalize drugs like marijuana, where previously they were incarcerating people for selling it. I've seen a number of my friends talking about this online, basically making the point that now when rich white men want to make a profit from selling drugs, it's all right, but when poor black people want to do the same thing, it's throw them in jail time.
But if a rich black person wants to sing about it,
yeah, we give them a Grammy,
yeah. Yes, hypocrisy. Anyway, nice bit of news. Well done, NHS.
Bravo.
You're okay. Right, so I'm going to move on to shout-outs. So I've got two today. First one's, I've just finished a book called Market Wizards. I just pull up the Amazon here so I can get this guy's name. Very good book. Highly recommend you read it. You don't have to want to be a stockbroker to get anything out of this book. There's lots of really interesting takes on things. Obviously, guys who are hugely successful, their take on philosophies on life. It is quite a lot about trading, but I think there's a lot of things you can take out of it that you could take in as a philosophy in their life. The author of the book's Jack D. Swager, and the book's entitled Hedge Fund Market Wizards, How Winning Traders Win. So I think it was the second interview, the third interview. He interviewed a guy from Bridgewater. Can't remember the Bridgewater is the name of his brokerage or his hedge fund. It's one of the 2 or 3 biggest hedge funds in the world. He manages assets of over 100 billion. And I just thought his kind of work-related philosophies are great. Most successful traders, I had made notes on it when I was listening to it, so I just read them out. Most successful traders start at a young age, don't do it for the money, they do it because they're compulsive. They would do it anyway, basically. They don't do it for money. Market thoughts are different from those taught in school systems. School teaches that mistakes are bad and not a learning opportunity. Markets show you to value what you don't know and to learn from it. You're never always right. People shooting down your ideas helps you to make it right. You must be an independent thinker, but if you are an independent thinker, there's a reasonable chance you're going to be wrong quite a lot of the time. You need to be assertive, but open to change in any ideas. So Bridgewater, his company, have as their core philosophies, openness and honesty are crucial. They put across that you have to be honest to a fault or as transparent to a fault. If you want to say something, you have to say it to their face. Criticism is actively encouraged. They take mistakes as learning opportunities. If you expect to make mistakes on the way to becoming right, you will do well. It's so embedded in their policy that so then they in like a meeting they record everything. So any kind of formal meeting they record it all, and it's all like stored and archived in case like someone says so and so said this or so and so said that. Like it's there on hard record, so there's no kind of bullshitting. I just thought like that was like that particular interview. I thought had some brilliant kind of philosophies in the workplace. Something that a lot of places could do well to take on board, or people could do to take on board. Things like being open to criticism and actively encouraging criticism is something that I think a lot of people, especially in like the health and fitness industry, could take on and be open to, not to automatically put the shutters down and be defensive as soon as someone questions your ideas. Would be a really positive change for a lot of people, I think. Yeah, you going ahead?
Yeah, I think those are some great points, especially about being open to criticism, because I think it's easy to get married to certain ideas and ways of thinking about things, and then because that becomes the way that you do it, it becomes your approach over time. You adopt certain methods. When someone criticizes them, it's like you feel like it's a personal attack on you. So you might react emotionally when really you should just say, okay, well, this is an opportunity to learn, to maybe refine what I'm doing. And I think that's a really great point, especially in the health and fitness industry where people just don't open themselves up to criticism.
Yeah.
They've got some pretty ropey working habits. They don't document things. It's very, very sloppy a lot of the time.
Yeah. Also, I really like that one. If you expect to make mistakes in the way to becoming right, you will do well. I really like that point.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's fantastic because it's people who I think, in my experience, people who doubt the quality of their work, people who are always looking to improve and feel like the stuff they've written isn't good enough, or their programs they've written are never quite. I think those people are the ones I see making the most improvement, whereas people who put something out and they think, yeah, that's amazing, that's perfect, tend to stay very static and often are the ones that don't produce the great quality work.
I think they're really expunge upon like if they have like a market strategy, they'll put it towards the floor and actively have people to shoot it down, like just pick holes in it. Like people do something similar with like their anything, like your like if in work, if you have a strategy that you maybe want to implement, if you're like a leader, you're like a team leader or a boss, if you open it up to the floor and let people pick holes in it, like especially things like retail industry where the people who maybe make the policies or make the rules aren't actually on the floor dealing with customers. If they were more open to like a bottom up kind of process, I think a lot of like things like the customer care and stuff would improve a lot. It's really good. Really like that interview alone is probably worth the price of the book. Some really great points. Like if you're managing $100 billion worth of stuff, you must be doing something right.
Yeah, you'd like to think so anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's great. I think the point about when you've got people collaborating on a project, you need to have criticism is great, because if you look at the Star Wars films, you can see what happens when a single person with creative vision, it goes unquestioned throughout the whole process.
Come train wreck. Mr. Jar Jar Binks.
Oh God, getting traumatic flashbacks now.
Sweet Jesus. Oh God, oh, terrible movies. Yeah, I thought it was good. Is there anything else you want to chat about regarding that?
Just quickly, a shout out for.
Oh, well, can I get my shout out in first, or do you want to go?
Yeah,
you go. No, you
go
go. Then I'll go. I've talked enough.
Maybe I don't want to go first. Okay. The yoga workshop we're running here in Newcastle. That's Saturday, the 12th of July. Just for people in the northeast, or if you can travel, that'd be great. It's 3 hours of yoga for beginners and intermediates, and it's going to be aimed at people who just want to add another facet to their training, because over the years I've realised how important mobility is, staying injury free, and I guess I underrated the value of stretching and stuff like this for too long. And for me, this is a great way of adding something in to my strength training that is complementary. So it's not aimed at people who just want to get a mat out and do some really easy stretches. This is really for people who kind of want to work and build something useful into their existing routine.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Definitely, it's one of them things where I don't think anyone's ever said, "Fuck, I'm too mobile."
Yeah,
I'm moving too well.
Except Louis Simmons, right?
The kind of articles like some of them powerlifters put out about how you don't want to be too flexible because you want to be stiff through certain ranges of motion. Hilarious. But yeah, that sounds great. Like, I think there's definitely a gap in the market for that. Some kind of mobility training aimed at like lifters or like CrossFitters or whatever, and people who take training seriously.
Well, yeah, it's run by Nicola Hobbs, who is a champion weightlifter herself, and the really brilliant thing about Nicola, which is when I first saw that she was doing all of this stuff, it's the fact that she does actually lift. And so she understands how yoga has a place within strength training, and that is the biggest difference for me with the traditional sort of yoga Pilates stuff, is that it's not aimed at someone who is there to build real strength with barbell movements. It's just fantastic to see this.
Does she even lift?
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, confirmed.
Can't confirm. Does lift? That sounds really good. That's something I'd like to check out if it wasn't 100 miles down south. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Certainly an idea I might tap into up in Scotland. So my second shout out is just to so within the kind of strength and conditioning community, it's called Mass Runner or Max Aerobic Speed. And it's basically say you run for 3 minutes or you run for 5 minutes. And maximally, so you cover 1,400 meters as quickly as you can, and you take that number as your maximal aerobic speed. So you take it in meters per second, and then that's how quick you can run and be doing it aerobically. So say you run at 4 meters per second, then you can use that. You can extrapolate that out into workouts. So you can work over distances, you can work in time frames, you can work in any kind of modality you want. You can extrapolate it out to rowing, cycling, whatever. But basically what it lets you do is, I personally think that the high intensity interval training gets far too much credit. I don't think it's a very efficient way of doing conditioning training. Because what it does is it kind of eats into recovery. Anaerobic activities, high stress, takes a long time to recover from. A hard anaerobic session might take 2 days to recover from. Whereas a fairly strenuous aerobic session, you're recovered sometimes within 30 minutes, an hour. I've had guys do mass sessions and then come into the gym and lift pretty much PBs and squats and cleans. One guy in particular who was an absolute aerobic boss would do that quite regularly. He felt that if he went out and did a running session, it would actually prep him quite well for lifting. He'd feel after about half an hour, he'd feel warm and ready to go. But it's something I've used extensively over the last kind of 5 months really, and something I've seen a hell of a lot of return with. There's one case study in particular who I won't name names, but This guy was rehabbing from a shoulder injury, and over the course of his 9-12 week rehab process, I took him from 90 kilo body weight to 96 kilo body weight. He dropped his skin folds, I think about 10 mils, which is equivalent to about 1 or 2% body fat. We took his max bench from 130 to 142, took his max chin from 130 to 150, took his max squat from 170 to 190, took his speed time, 10 meter speed time down, 30 meter speed time down, and also increased his yo-yo from an 18.1 to an 18.7. So the yo-yo's intermittent recovery test that we use to kind of plot your VO2 max. It's used quite regularly within team sports. And going from an 18 to a 19 is basically going from a fairly well-conditioned player to a really well-conditioned player, and 20 and up is an exceptionally conditioned player for rugby. So we managed to get him heavier, get him leaner, get him stronger, get him faster, and get him fitter all at the same time. I put it completely down to, this is one guy who I didn't really do any kind of anaerobic work with. With some of the other conditioning I'll do with guys would be kind of anaerobic circuits, 3 minutes of hard work, maybe 2 efforts at it, kind of absolutely fucks you. We used to do quite a lot of kind of speed endurance work with speed sessions, but I was finding that kind of stuff would chew the guys up. They get a lot of hamstring issues, soft tissue issues. But when we kind of removed that from the program entirely, ran kind of two of these running conditioning sessions and a couple of off-feet sessions, not really that taxing. The amount of progress these guys can make these guys can make progress in the gym, running, they can very much do the lot. And I put it down completely to this stuff not really taxing your recovery so much. Found it extremely useful. I think it's something that a lot of people that are CrossFitters or bodybuilders or whoever you are, you engage in conditioning training, you can learn a lot from doing this kind of stuff. It's not really tiring. It's tiring at the time, but you don't wake up the next day feeling like you've been hit by a car. And it's very, very effective. Very effective.
Wait, you're telling me you should cycle through, training intensities as a way of recovering from training? I just
maybe
in my mind.
Don't train maximally for conditioning.
Yeah.
Maybe rely on a dose response that's specifically targeted at your fitness level and is progressive. You might see better results and tax your recovery less. Does that sound weird?
It does sound weird, because I thought what you had to do is try and do everything at once, as intense as possible. But yeah, actually, this is fascinating, because I think this is something I've kind of noticed. People get on the high intensity interval training bandwagon a lot for things like fat loss. And people often ask me, well, would this be better if I did some high intensity intervals? It's well, no, I've put low intensity stuff in your program for a reason. And that's because, if you're doing several HIIT sessions a week, and you're training, 3-4 times a week on top of that, I mean, good luck actually making any sort of meaningful inroads to recovery. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, I saw a really good article lately. It's in the US Journal of Endocrinology, and it's called Energy Flux and Its Role in Obesity and Metabolic Disease. And it's basically saying that as a biological system, the human body is kind of designed to maintain a high energy flux. And so this is a bit like what John Berardi was doing years ago with his idea of the G-flux diet, which is you eat a lot of calories, but you do a lot of activity. And it kind of fits in with what you're doing there, where you said that your guy decreased skin folds while doing more activity. And I see that as applying this principle of using the appropriate level of intensity and, obviously progression.
From my end, the guys I work with are professional athletes, so they're doing an extreme amount of activity anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But for this guy, he managed to, we're talking about a guy who's got training. He's been weight training since he was probably 16, He's only like 23, 24, so he's got a training age comparable to my own. He managed to put on 6 kilos of muscle mass and get fitter at the same time while getting leaner. And for someone of a high training age, I think that's quite a powerful, transformation for this guy. But
that's pretty phenomenal, yeah.
But I put it down purely to the conditioning I use with him. Like, with the guys I work with, I kind of, my take on weight training is probably completely different from most of the conditioners I probably worked with before. Whereas I come from like powerlifting and kind of strength training background, so I would program them probably more. Like, the guys I work with get stronger and heavier anyway, but they don't always get like leaner as well. And this guy got significantly heavier and got leaner, and I put it down to like the fact that his conditioning wasn't eating into his recovery. Like, hey, he was sore and stuff, but everyone gets sore when they're training for like 12, 15 hours a week. I thought I've been having immense success with it. I know it's something that's like kind of catching a bit of fire at the minute, in certain circles. There's a guy called Dan Baker who's a conditioning coach for the Brisbane Broncos rugby league team. Probably got the name of the team wrong, but the guy's name's Dan Baker, and he's got a lot of stuff on maximal aerobic speed training. It's probably worth checking out if you're interested in conditioning and lifting weights.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. That's a really good point that, especially when you think of what we were talking about earlier with powerlifters who do like no conditioning work and have no mobility. I mean, I know that doesn't apply to the guys at Westside necessarily because they tend to do a lot of conditioning work, but I think it does illustrate the point that some of us are so afraid of not doing too much work, that we neglect, a little bit of active recovery or conditioning work, which will actually make everything more efficient.
For me, one of the biggest training mistakes that people make, and certainly one I make, is they don't do enough conditioning work. Because conditioning work is a form of active recovery, but it also allows you to eat more food and not be a fat fuck, which is both are positive benefits, and also it's got health benefits and all the rest of it. I think like a couple of running conditioning sessions a week, this kind of sort of running conditioning isn't going to cause you to not be able to lift hard. In fact, it might increase your ability to lift hard because you'll recover from sets faster, you'll recover from your workouts faster, you'll have higher energy day to day because you're fitter. It's all pretty much all positive when it comes to conditioning if you don't smash the fucking arse out of it, which is what most people do.
Yeah, but the only downside is that you won't be able to brag about never doing cardio on the internet. So swings and roundabouts.
So you can be a fat, no neck virgin, kissless virgin crew checking in. Permabulk. Okay, so that's the shout out section. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of quickly go over the comments from the last week's episode.
We actually got some comments again.
We got quite a lot of comments actually. It's quite nice. We got
maybe too many comments. I don't know if I like all these.
No. 19 comments is good. More comments the better. So we'll start from the bottom up. Gynomorph, 10 out of 10. We'll listen again. Was laughing throughout. You guys are some funny fuckers. Are very knowledgeable guys. Smiley face. Should manlets be allowed to vote? So what do you think? Should manlets be able to vote? Or are you yourself a manlet? What height are you?
No, I'm slightly over 6 foot, so I'm not in manlet territory. So I no matter what happens, I will be voting.
6 foot master race checking in.
Is that, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I myself not a manlet. I don't think manlets will ever learn personally.
No.
Silly manlets. Adam PF 26, good listen, funnest one yet. Fat fuck coffee, lols. Jody Mullen, Fark taking over the iTunes. I don't think we're not on iTunes yet, are we?
You had plans to get on iTunes.
Yeah, I had plans to get on iTunes, and then life took over, and then it didn't happen.
You've done goofed.
Consequences will never be the same. Emma Story Gordon, I want to be your hater, but then never sent any hate mail, so that's not being a very good hater, Emma.
Step up your game, Emma.
You can try harder than that.
Yeah, too busy eating Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, loves a Brussels sprout. Probably, our farts probably smelling horrendous. Brandon Elliott, good one. It seems as if you guys were a little looser on this one, which made it more entertaining. Could have been the creatine though. It does do that.
It does, yeah. Like I said to Brandon, I was feeling exceptionally mad during the recording of that, so...
You seem to have calmed down a little bit. Have you cycled off creatine, maybe on some BCAA?
Well, I was trying to make ends meet and pay for my creatine, but I just, I was selling, I was stealing stuff from my friends' houses, putting that, on the black market, and, unfortunately, I got caught, and it's just, I'm not proud of what I did, but...
It's common problems for the creatine addiction. You're not alone, brother. Jimmy Bergens, you guys are fucking pricks. I am your first official hater. Good podcast though. That's it, mines. Yeah, fuck you, Jimmy. Jimmy later says, if you want some more questions, how about HIV versus HIT? Which is the worst for building muscle? Discuss. This might actually be one we might be able to talk about. So is it high intensity volume versus high intensity training? Is that right? Or
I'm not sure. I wasn't sure.
I'm not sure. Is he trolling?
I thought he was trolling us, to be honest.
As in AIDS, HIV/AIDS.
Yeah, I thought he meant as in AIDS. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good point, because if he's talking about the Mike Metzger high intensity training, then AIDS might actually be more efficient for building muscles than Mike Metzger's high intensity training system.
Yeah. Yeah, God. Well,
if you think about it, if you have AIDS, then NHS gives you gear, thanks NHS, so you can build muscle.
By the way, with that, we're not advising anyone to do that, just to make that clear.
Well, maybe not say that. AIDS, free steroids.
That's very, very survivable now, so...
Yeah, thanks to science, it's survival, and you get free steroids, so... Share some needles, maybe some butt sex with a questionable person. Maybe not, maybe yes, I don't know, not advocating it, just saying free steroids is all. If you want that. Jimmy, also, please discuss Elliot Huss's Frightened Little King video. My God, he was a retard lunatic before, but now. That's definitely something we will discuss at some point, maybe not just yet. Have you seen that video?
Yeah, I've seen it. Well, and we might get a special guest on the podcast to talk about that.
Our special guest hasn't answered his email.
Yeah. Oh, well, fuck him.
Yeah, fuck him.
Fuck that guy. Yeah, that video was like gazing into the abyss. It was... I don't really know what people get from Elliot Hulse. He seems like an alright guy, but he's full of shit, and likes to think that he's far more eloquent and profound than he really is. So
I think calling him an alright guy might be stretching reality somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, he's an alright guy that, deliberately misleads people and puts out terrible information, but I just meant on a, personal level, he's probably not awful.
I'm sure he's great around for a few beers and where he can talk shit. And he's also got the worst sparkling form in the world. I just want to put that out.
I was going to say, you mentioned beers. I think I would have to have a few before I could actually sit and listen to him.
I think that could be a podcast special.
Yeah, get drunk and invite Elliot.
I think we could sit down some night, get drunk, and put that video on live, maybe live stream it. That for when we actually have listeners, that we could do that. When we when we get a live audience of more than one, basically Youssef, refreshing the page.
Hi Youssef.
Hey Youssef again. You didn't comment on the last podcast, you little fucking asshole. What's that about? I thought he was our number one fan.
Down to 0 listeners now.
Yeah. He didn't even share it, did he?
No.
Fucking piece of shit. So I think that pretty much concludes another barnstorming edition of Health, Fitness and Success. Or Health Fit and sometimes Success. I've been Mark.
And I've been Ben.